more than 15 billion miles from Earth. Past the heliopause, where the sun's influence fades into the interstellar medium, Voyager 1 floats through a zone long portrayed as cold, sparse, and unremarkable. Temperatures near absolute zero. Matter present at densities so low that a single hydrogen atom can seem notable. No planetary pull, no solar wind disruption, no close stars. Guiding paths, just plasma, magnetic fields, and almost perfect quiet. That is what predictions suggested. Yet in that quiet, something stirred, not a planet, not an asteroid, not a comet, not floating dust. Voyager's plasma wave tool, a system created to gauge charged particle actions, not to monitor physical bodies. Since fluctuations, shifts in frequency, changes in strength, directional, alterations hidden in the signal. The disruption was not a lone peak. It was not brief sensor interference. It lasted. It changed. It showed form. What renders this find disturbing is not just the movement itself, is its location beyond. The heliopause in a zone presumed to be consistent and foreseeable. To grasp why this oddity counts, we start with the movement. Voyager 1 spotted the event via its plasma wave system, a tool meant to examine charged particle actions in space rather than to spot moving entities. The tool logged fluctuations that diverged from the predicted background, traits of interstellar plasma. Frequency changes surfaced where consistency had been expected. Signal strength altered in manners at odds with steady-state turbulence. The data did not match the static plasma outline forecasted for that area. Beyond the heliopause, the signal was not constant static. It revealed organized variation, shifts in amplitude and frequency implied interaction rather than idle. Environmental shift. The plasma around Voyager seemed locally agitated, creating a lively area in an setting earlier labeled as barely affected by outside forces. In a zone marked by thin matter and low energy density, Voyager captured detectable dynamics. Importantly, this was not a solitary surge. It was not a passing oddity caused by tool instability. The fluctuation endured over time. Its persistence pointed to the existence of a physical or energetic event engaging with the plasma medium. The plasma was not merely varying at random. It was reacting to something specific, and that specificity turned the oddity from numerical oddity into physical enigma. More startling than the plasma fluctuation itself was the directional conduct woven into the signal. Studies showed that the disturbance origin was changing spot relative to Voyager. The shift was faint yet quantifiable. It did not trace ballistic paths typical of interstellar remnants. It did not mimic comet-like wander. It did not suit dust, cloud spread patterns, nor did it match recognized particle flows moving through interstellar breeze. The directional shift suggested mobility. Beyond the heliopause, gravitational effects are slight. No nearby planetary forms apply strong force. Vectors able to reroute separate objects in sudden or managed steps. For a source in that area to change its route indicates either inner energy creation or engagement with a specific energetic field not usually seen in the interstellar medium. The movement did not seem entirely random. It did not disperse haphazardly under plasma turbulence. It showed correction, and correction suggests response rather than idle drift. In the calmest zone of known space, something was not just drifting, it was shifting. When researchers scrutinized the plasma wave data more closely, a further layer of anomaly surfaced. The fluctuations were not unbroken. They did not mirror the sort of ongoing turbulence often linked with broad plasma interaction in space. Instead, the disturbance showed up in spans. Detectable action would heighten, then fade into comparative calm, only to reappear in a repeated order. The pattern was not flawlessly even, but it was organized, enough to defy labeling as random noise. Turbulence in plasma settings often yields uneven variation without steady breaks. Here, though, the data showed clustered oscillations, spans of disturbance trailed by clear pauses. Activity, quiet activity. Again, the repetition did not suit random stimulation or background disruption. It implied modulation. Just as key was the spatial nature of the signal, the disturbance seemed specific rather than spread out. If a wide plasma wave or environmental squeeze were at fault, the fluctuations would have extended across a broader measurement area. Instead, the readings directed toward a separate starting point shifting relative to Voyager's spot. The plasma was not undergoing a broad fluctuation. It was being agitated in a restricted zone. The setting beyond the heliopause was predicted to be foreseeable. The organized clustering of activity and quiet disputed that premise. The oscillations bore an inner order that did not match known models of interstellar plasma conduct. This was no longer an issue of basic fluctuation. It was patterned engagement. Deeper waveform study disclosed that the oscillations held quantifiable accuracy. The frequency shift stayed within set limits rather than wandering wildly. The amplitude changes traced identifiable shapes instead of sharp randomness. The signal showed modulation-like traits. Its design revealed inner consistency rather than splintering. Scientists matched the waveform features against known plasma events like shocks, density, squeezes, and magnetic field engagement, while interstellar plasma can create waves and lively behaviors. Those events do not usually form into repeating spans with steady structure and specific origin. None of the set natural models completely fit the scene pattern. The document stays careful in its reading. It does not declare artificial source. Yet, it plainly stresses that the organized essence of the oscillations cannot be accounted for by plain background turbulence, tool drift, or haphazard environmental disruption. The disturbance did not show as a surge, trail by fade. It lasted with pattern steadiness. Pattern in a zone predicted to be random is notable. Structure where chaos is forecasted compels rethinking of core premises. The plasma was not acting as an idle medium. It was reacting in an organized manner, and that organized reaction raised the anomaly from odd to possibly revolutionary. As the directional changes woven into the plasma data grew clearer, scientists started rebuilding the suggested path of the disturbance origin. What arose did not mimic the motion of a natural entity journeying through interstellar space. Bodies like comets, icy bits, or stray debris trace foreseeable ballistic routes ruled by inertia and gravitational effect. Their paths can be forecasted using set celestial mechanics. Even in thin density settings, the anomaly spotted by Voyager did not adhere to those forecasts. Instead of proceeding along a lone inertial vector, the source changed its direction in faint but quantifiable steps. The bend of movement did not suit gravitational tug from any known heavy body. No listed objects in the area were able to apply the kind of effect needed to produce such rerouting. Beyond the heliopause, gravitational forming from planets or stars is slight at that level. The setting does not naturally yield focused localized path shifts for separate objects. The motion did not resemble the even curve of a wandering fragment or the gradual bend of interstellar dust under magnetic force. It displayed correction. Drift suggests idle motion guided by outside forces. Correction suggests response. That difference is basic in a zone where known forces are feeble and even the existence of quantifiable directional, fixed challenges typical, views of idle movement, through plasma, further path modeling strengthened, the anomaly. The movement did not match the spread patterns of dust, clouds, which often grow slowly, under interstellar wind effect, nor did it mimic plasma condensations, which miss coherent directional conduct. Over time, interstellar wind can form fine particles, but it yields gradual flow patterns rather than separate vector shifts. The anomaly's route implied either inner energy, creation, or engagement with a specific energetic field not yet wholly grasped. The data did not show speed up consistent with gravitational slingshot methods. It also did not exhibit wild scattering usual of plasma turbulence. Instead, the route correction seemed managed within quantifiable limits. The document does not allege mechanical thrust. It does not declare artificial steering. It stays rooted in observation. Yet it directly notes that the path traits are at odds with purely idle motion under recognized natural forces in that area. The object did not merely drift with the interstellar medium. It changed direction in a manner that suggests agency of some kind, whether energetic, magnetic, or structural, and in the thinnest zone beyond the sun's effect. That suggestion deepens the enigma because movement without clear external force calls for a reassessment of what we think rules motion in deep interstellar space. Once motion, organized oscillation, and non-ballistic path were examined together, the anomaly defied simple grouping. The document details several possible readings, yet none completely explain the scene conduct. One suggested account proposes the existence of a formerly unknown plasma form, possibly a self-managing energetic setup within the interstellar medium, able to create localized oscillations and directional changes. Another ponders if confined magnetic oddities could make disturbances that imitate movement, yielding organized plasma modulation without needing a solid body. More guessing possibilities are also noted. Mentions are made to exotic particle engagements or unfamiliar energetic setups not yet fully blended into the standard model of physics. Ideas like dark matter interaction areas, new plasma states, or unidentified electromagnetic forms are offered carefully, not as verdicts, but as theoretical realms where the anomaly might dwell. The main stress in the document is that the event does not fit neatly with set categories. It is not plainly an object in the usual sense because no direct material spotting was logged. It is not solely a wave because the organized movement and path corrections imply localized endurance rather than spread propagation. It fills a conceptual gap between known groupings acting neither strictly as matter nor strictly as energy. That vagueness raises the anomaly from odd sighting to possibly paradigm testing event. The ultimate implication offered in the document is based in scientific modesty rather than guesswork. For decades, interstellar space was portrayed as sparse, cold, and mostly inactive, a low-density setting ruled by plasma, magnetic fields, and slight structural complexity. Voyager's data implies that this portrayal may be unfinished. The heliopause itself is defined as a changing interface, rather than a fixed limit. If organized movement and localized energetic modulation can happen beyond the sun's effect, then the conceptual model of deep space needs adjustment. The anomaly proves that even after decades of probing, the cosmos keeps yielding behaviors that dispute expectation. The document does not allege artificial source. It does not declare finding of unknown societies. Instead, it highlights that the event cannot yet be wholly explained within set categories. It reminds us that unexplained Sightings are often forerunners to scientific progress. The most vital lesson is not that something artificial has been spotted. It is that something seen does not match. And when something does not match, physics advances. Voyager 1 is over 15 billion miles from Earth, past the Heliosphere, past the Sun's magnetic guard, floating through what we once labeled as the calmest zone of space we know. The interstellar medium was predicted to be sparse, even foreseeable plasma, magnetic fields, charged particles, shifting without order or form. Instead, Voyager logged fluctuation, not a lone peak, not in separate fault, but organized oscillations, spans of activity, and quiet, localized plasma agitations, directional changes suggesting mobility. The signal was focused rather than spread. It bore pattern instead of disorder. The oscillations showed modulation-like accuracy. The suggested path did not mimic cometary wander, gravitational rerouting, or dust spread. It changed direction in quantifiable steps at odds with purely idle motion. The document does not allege artificial source. It does not jump past observation. What it says plainly is this: the event does not suit current categories, is not decisively material, it is not solely wave-based. It acts somewhere between known groupings of object and energy. That vagueness is the strongest aspect of all, because for decades we portrayed interstellar space as inactive, a huge cold gap between stars. Voyager's data suggests that portrayal may be unfinished. The Heliosphere is not a fixed limit, but a lively interface. The interstellar medium may harbor organized events we have not yet learned to group. Plasma may arrange magnetic settings, may localize energy in manners that imitate movement, or physics may disclose something wholly new. Science does not progress when everything slots neatly into models. It progresses when something declines to slot. Voyager did not capture an alien vessel. It did not photograph a planet. It spotted organized movement in a zone where models predicted consistency. It disclosed activity where quiet was presumed. And that is sufficient to count, because history demonstrates that the most notable advances often start with a single uneasy sighting. Something minor, something faint, something that just does not act as predicted. Beyond the Heliosphere, in the thinnest zone we can gauge, something shifted, and whether it stands for unknown plasma dynamics, unfamiliar magnetic forming, or an event not yet grouped, one fact stays: the universe is less fixed than we conceived. If you wish to continue probing the edge where physics meets doubt, where data disputes premise, remain with us, because Voyager is still there, still attuned, and the next fluctuation may instruct us even more. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.